A former mobster who served time in the exact same cell as Jeffrey Epstein says suicide was not possible. He describes the cell's layout, hidden corners, and camera blind spots that make the official story hard to believe. With edited footage and missing time, serious questions remain. Check this out.
Okay, I'm joined now by someone, and this is interesting, with intimate knowledge of the very jail cell Epstein died in. Michael Franzese, he was a capo for the Colombo crime family in the 1980s. He served time in the exact cell where Epstein was later held. Michael, welcome back to the program. Tell us about that cell, and what do you make of these revelations that there is a minute missing from the surveillance video, Michael?
Well, listen, I spent 7 months on that tier and in those cells. And the first thing I have to say, there's no way you are able to commit suicide. There's just no way. There's no way to hang yourself. There's nothing from the ceiling. There's nothing from the bed. You'd have to be a midget and work really hard to try to hang yourself. And I don't think you can accomplish it at that point. As far as the cameras being off, I haven't experienced that. I did 8 years in prison, and I haven't experienced cameras being broken in the perfect storm of correctional officers not walking those cells. They walk in and they look in on you all the time. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's embarrassing to go to the toilet because they're walking past you and looking in the cell constantly. So I've said this from day one. I do not believe it was suicide. I can't talk about what happened to him, but I don't believe it was a suicide because you just couldn't physically do it. It would be almost impossible to do it. So that's number one.
It must be interesting, Michael, when you look at the video, though, it must be interesting because you know the area. I mean, we all look at this and it just looks like a prison, but this must look very familiar to you.
Absolutely. Very familiar. And the fact that a minute is missing, look, everything around this guy, I just did a very deep dive into him, which I'll be releasing on my platform in the next several days. Look, there's no way that this person operated alone. Look, they have the videos. Alan Dershowitz recently said that he saw the client list, but because there's people that he can't, because he's an attorney, he can't, reveal what he saw. But he said he saw the client list. He's demanding that it be released. To think that there's no flight logs, that there's no client list, that the thousands of recordings that they had, because I found out for sure that he had cameras on every bedroom, recording everything. And all of a sudden, all of it is gone. I mean, none of this makes sense. And look, the only reason it's important, it's not that anybody's trying to say, come on, this guy was a creep. And there was young women involved in this, young girls that were trafficked and abused. I have 5 daughters and I have granddaughters, and I just don't like it. And anybody that's involved in this should be held accountable. I recently interviewed Paul Hutchinson, who was, a major figure in the Sound of Freedom. He was one of the ones that went to rescue, I think, 51 or 52 of these young girls and young boys that were being exploited and trafficked. I mean, this has got to stop. And if these people are not held accountable, it's just going to continue. And unfortunately, it seems like it's people with power and money. It seems that, from what my investigation, that this Les Wexner was the first one that Epstein was able to bribe. And, there's a lot of stuff here that needs to come out, and it's really shameful if it doesn't. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But as far as the jail cell, no way there was a suicide.
I want to go back to the jail cell because you lived in that jail cell. And just real quick, again, tell me, would you have the privacy in that jail cell to take your own life?
Not only would you not have the privacy, I don't understand how you would be able to do it. You have to hang yourself from something. There's nothing on the ceiling that you can hang a bed sheet on. The bed is not that high. I mean, you have to try to lay down on the floor in some way because Jeffrey Epstein was a fairly big guy. You'd have to be a midget to even try to hang yourself. So it's not a question of not only are there cameras on are the COs walking the tier constantly, especially from what I understand, Jeffrey Epstein was on suicide watch for a while. They watch you very, very closely. Trust me on that. So I just can't buy it. I cannot buy it. I'm sorry. And I have no horse in this race other than my experience and the fact that I just couldn't see it happening.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on tonight, Michael. We appreciate your perspective, especially as someone who's been in that exact cell. Thank you so much, sir.
This is No Filter News. Truth served raw, bold, and uncut. Hit that sub, stay loud, and catch us on the next drop. We don't fade out. We level up.